Now, you know, in America, we use the American dollar. Now, say a foreigner decided to move to America and they brought all their money. Now, for this example, we will just use yen instead of dollars. Now, Americans run on American dollars, am I right? And yen is the Japanese currency. And as Americans, yen is unprofitable, rendering it useless to us. Now, in order to transfer Japanese currency into American dollars, we must perform a process called the foreign currency exchange. Now, this process allows us to convert any foreign currency into our own, which would be usable in our country. Now, America in this analogy represents the mighty human cell. The American currency represents ATP. In a sense, ATP is like the currency of a country. It powers it and keeps it running. In a sense, ATP does exactly the same thing for cells. Now, what is this mystery ATP, you ask?
ATP, also known as adenosine triphosphate, stores energy for everyday life. We use ATP to perform everyday tasks when we do our schoolwork or work out. Your body cells depend on ATP to perform their everyday processes and allow you to, continue living. Also, if you do sports or other activities, you need a lot of ATP to keep you going. It's the world's energy drink for cells. Not that one.
Now that we've covered what ATP is and its importance, we can now take a dive into how ATP is created. Now, do you remember the whole process of turning yen into dollars I talked about earlier? Just like the process of the foreign currency exchange, foreign energy cannot be used by the cell unless it undergoes a process called glycolysis. Now, what is glycolysis?
Glycolysis is the method which turns the sugar molecule glucose into pyruvate. We get glucose from carbohydrates like bread, rice, pasta, and potatoes. This procedure takes place in the cytoplasm and is an anaerobic process, which means that it requires no oxygen. So we take the glucose molecule, which is a 6-carbon compound, and we combine it with 2 ATP molecules. The glucose then gets split into 2 3-carbon molecules, which are called pyruvate. This process also creates 2 NADH plus molecules, which are used later to create more ATP. Glycolysis makes a total of 4 ATP, but since we had to use 2 ATP to break up the glucose, we only benefited 2 ATP molecules, cashing out at 2 ATP.
Now, 2 ATP is all good and dandy, but another process must take place. This process is called the Kreb cycle. The Kreb cycle takes place inside the mitochondria. Now, after glycolysis, glucose molecules, which are 6-carbon molecules, are turned into 2-pyruvate, which are 3-carbon molecules. Pyruvate is then oxidized into acetyl-CoA, the 2-carbon compound, by the enzyme pyruvate dehydrogenase complex. This process creates 2 products, which are CO2, otherwise known as carbon dioxide, and NADH. It is then joined with oxyl acetate, a 4-carbon molecule. These form a 6-carbon substance called citrate. Citrate is then turned into isocitrate by the enzyme aconitase. Moving on to the next step, isocitrate is oxidized into alpha-ketoglutarate. During this process, a molecule of NAD is turned into NADH, and another carbon molecule is generated. Because 1 carbon molecule is lost, that makes alpha-ketoglutarate a 5-carbon molecule. After this step, it is then transformed into succinyl-CoA. Yet another NAD molecule is turned into NADH molecule. Another carbon molecule is released from this process, leaving this substance a 4-carbon molecule. The next process leads us to succinate, in which a molecule of GTP is generated. Succinate is then converted into fumarate, which produces a QH2 molecule used to produce FADH2. Fumarate zooms on to become malate. Yeah, I know, most of these processes are boring, but I know, bear with me. We're so close to being done. Malate is then converted into oxyl acetate. During this process, another NAD is converted to NADH, completing the Kreb cycle. Now moving on to the results. The products of the Kreb cycle are 3 NADH, 2 carbon dioxide, 1 FADH2, 1 GTP. You may be thinking, well, that doesn't seem like a lot. Well, never fear, because that was only one round of the cycle. 2 pyruvate from glycolysis, and we've only entered 1 into the cycle. Let's drop 1 more into the machine. That leaves us with 6 NADH molecules, 4 carbon dioxide, 2 FADH2, and 2 GTP, completing the Kreb cycle.
Viewer's digression. This next sequence will be rather boring and will have no animations whatsoever. If you are offended or affected by boredom, I advise you not to watch.
The electron transport chain starts by taking the NADH from glycolysis and the FADH from the Kreb cycle before fumarate begins the process. The NADH molecule releases an electron which is passed through the chain, while the NADH is split, so the positively charged proton is transferred through a protein complex and through the membrane to the inner membrane space, which makes the molecule NAD+. Then the FADH that was taken from the Kreb cycle is added after the first protein complex to the cycle and helps boost more electrons through by splitting like the NADH molecule from FADH2 to FAD. While the electron goes through each electron carrier, its electronegativity gets stronger, so it can pull the electron through the chain, while the electron pulls more hydrogen through the protein carrier. When the electron is at the end of the chain, it is combined with an oxygen which has the highest amount of electronegativity, because it's needed to pull the electron through the whole chain, and when it is combined with the oxygen is combined with 2 hydrogen molecules to make H2O. While H2O is being made, the positively charged protons want to get out of the positively charged inner membrane and go through the protein channel to the enzyme protein synthase. While the proteins diffuse, the kinetic energy causes the binding site to change shape and form a bond between ADP and inorganic phosphate, making them ATP. The results are 34 ATP, bringing the grand total to 38 ATP made throughout the whole process of cellular respiration.
Now let's just say you're a small business owner who's looking to buy other companies. Now consider yourself a single-celled organism. You yourself can sustain yourself with little money. Therefore, you do not need higher amounts of money, or ATP in this case, to survive. Now, as you expand your business, you'll become interested in other branches of industry, or complex functions, in which you'll need to generate much more ATP to sustain. Adding on more industries to your enterprise will consume more and more currency to keep everything running and in order. Now, when you have a complex enterprise or complex organism, all your industries and branches of those need very large amounts of money to run and work properly, which is why complex organisms need higher amounts of ATP to maintain and perform complex functions, as compared to a single businessman or, in this case, single-celled organism.
Overall, cellular respiration is a really important process in our lives. It gives us the energy to work and live our life. You need to remember that cellular respiration has 3 steps: glycolysis, Kreb cycle, and the electron transport chain. Glycolysis produces 2 ATP, the Kreb cycle 2 ATP, and the electron transport chain 34 ATP. Don't forget, however, that each one of these parts are equally important to know and learn. Thank you for watching our video on cellular respiration, and have a great day.